Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Bitter Upper Lip. I'm your host, as always, Tyler, and today's episode is very special because it's our first fan submission. That's right, this fan submission comes in from Linda Exum outside of the Athens, Georgia area, and she saw this in the store and thought I'd like to try it. She, knows I have a thing or two for beer, as suspected. So today we're going to be reviewing from New Belgian Brewing Company, one of the OGs of the American craft brewing movement, and this is their Trippel Belgian Style Golden Ale. So this beer has been made by New Belgium since 1992. So it was one of their original offerings, I believe. And for those who don't know, New Belgium, as I said, is they're very much I would say, foundational brewing company in the craft beer movement. They kicked it up right up there with, I would say, Sierra Nevada, Samuel Adams, around that push. And they have a brewery in their original location outside of Fort Collins, Colorado, and they have a second location established in North Carolina. So they've got East and the West Coast covered. So I've had this triple. It was a long time ago that I've had it. So this will be kind of a nice circle back to it, see how it tastes. I love Belgian beers. I know stylistically, some people, that's all they like to drink. So this particular beer comes in at, I think, 8.5 ABV, 43 IBUs, so nice and mild. This is New Belgium essentially trying to recreate a full-on European Belgian-style triple in America. Their hop bill is completely out of noble hops, and they've got Target, Liberty, Saaz, and Hallertau hops, and of course their malt bill is the same: Pilsner, Pale, Munich malts. They use Trappist style ale yeast in it, so this is a pretty good representation of what a Belgian style triple would be even over in Europe. So without further ado, let's get this out of the bottle into a glass and see what we're working with. And real quick on the bottle, it says here, enjoy by September 26th of 2021. I don't know if you can see that. And it's typical, because this is a nice live beer, there are some floaties on the bottom. I'm going to try to not get those in the glass, keep it nice and clean so we can look at it during the review. Nothing on the cap special. And of course, we're going to be using a tulip style glass, because that's going to be one of the traditional styles that you would drink these types of beers with if you've got it. But to all those who don't know, if you're watching this, do not drink this out of a bottle, even if you have a pint glass, pour into that. So yeah, we'll just keep that. All right, so it looks the part. Beautiful yellow color to it. Very mild. I mean, it looks very much like sparkling apple cider, apple juice. Extremely carbonated and effervescent. Very small head. It's kind of being reinvigorated by all the bubbles coming up from it. Big soapy bubbles in the middle of it. Nice tight bubbles around the edge of the glass. As you can see, is just fizzling and a popping. This is a lively live beer. Very nice. So, all right, let's get a whiff on it. Yeah, pretty much what you would expect from a triple. You've got that very strong, spicy yeast note coming off of it. Expected smells of cloves. Nice sweet smell as well. Yeah, there's a bit of a peppery smell going on with it. Almost a bit of a green smell too, like kind of like onions a little bit. Chives. There's a slight little bit of funkiness too on the smell. Very subdued. It's nothing at all like you're going to be getting from like a Saison or anything stylistic, not like a farmhouse style beer. Yeah, very complex smelling beer. Smells on point. Smells exactly what I would expect a Belgian triple to be like. All right, well, let's go ahead and get this to the lip. Cheers. Oh, yeah. Mm. Mm-mm. So liquid banana bread is the first thing I'm getting from that. Um, Very nice, bold sweetness at the front of the tongue. But again, I'm getting a very, almost like a silkiness out of it. Like if I was having a banana, that spice carries through from the nose onto the tongue. Yeah, and I mean, back to banana bread, there is a little bit almost of a nutty kind of flavor about middle of the tongue, back of the tongue going on. Carbonation is great. Um, Very, very active, more on the sides of the tongue. I'm not really getting a bunch at the front of the tongue. Maybe that's just because, I don't know, the sweetness is the first thing that I'm getting from, but more sides of the tongue. Back of the tongue, actually getting a nice bit of carbonation as well. Um, Now, one of the things that's also interesting about these Belgian beers is typical is that they're higher ABV. As I said, this is an 8.5 ABV beer. I'm not getting any kind of booziness off this. Yeah, nothing in the nose. Definitely nothing in the flavor. It's obviously not a big, bombastic, flammable type ABV pinnacle we're talking about, but you know, you think you're going to get a little bit of booziness off 8.5, but there's nothing. It's completely cloyed, and that's why these beers can be dangerous because they're so tasty, they're nice and sweet. Speaking of it, yeah, there's that very nice kind of noble hop bitterness coming through that's typical with these regional style beers. I mean, it's something similar that you might get to like a Pilsner. You're not getting that big bombastic bitterness you're getting from out of like a lot of classical American craft beers where hops are king. They are very much, I would dare say, tertiary to this. It's the yeast, the malt, and then the hops in this. But that being said, though, they do add some nice balancing bitterness, if you will, just to not make this taste like a glass of cold, fizzy malt juice, if you will. Hops could definitely, I think, are playing into some of that spicy flavor, but again, it's very, very subtle but pleasant bitterness. And again, it's much more of a kind of balancing type flavor than hops at all really flavoring. And this is almost, I would say, the exact opposite to what an IPA would be, where hops are the flavor. This is not the case. Again, I would say a tertiary role, if anything, into the flavor of this beer, but in a good way. Yeah, just a very, I mean, there's like a, again, I just keep going back to banana bread. There is a bit of a kind of spicy pastry note to it. Almost kind of like a ginger snap a bit, but not as spicy as a ginger snap, but there is a little bit to it. Again, there's some of that spice note coming in. That yeastiness of it is definitely, I think, playing to the confectionery flavors I'm getting out of it. I'm not really getting a ton of fruit per se. I mean, banana, of course, but I'm not getting like berries or apples, anything like that coming out of it. It's a lot of spice, a lot of silky sweetness, I would say. Um, yeah, and kind of like a baker's spice cabinet. Again, we got cloves, maybe a little bit of cinnamon kind of coming out of it. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on with that. Fantastic triple. I mean, the thing I like about this is because of brand familiarity. I would like to think that again. I believe Linda she got this at a Publix, so the accessibility of something like this, and because of brand recognition, people might have gotten other like Fat Tire, of course, big ones, or Voodoo IPAs. Like, oh, I'll give this a try. This could literally be someone's first exposure to a Belgian style beer. It's at a good price point and it's delicious. Like it tastes exactly like a Belgian It's not been Americanized. It's not been watered down. It's not been like had all kinds of weird adjuncts thrown. It's a straight up Belgian style triple. So I think this is great. It's good quality. It definitely reminds me of some other triples I've had. Triple Carmelier is something that comes to mind. That's my favorite triple currently, next to Allagash. But again, these types of beers I think have a great place in the pantheon just because of the accessibility, and people in the craft beer community I think should be, not to soapbox here, but I think we should be grateful for beers like this because we all had a gateway beer when we got into it, and this very well could be something for somebody because think of how many people talk about how, I mean, I can speak personally. I've gotten people drinking craft beers because they, oh, I don't like it. It's too bitter. It's all this and that. I'm like, you've never tried a Belgian Golden Ale, have you? What's that? Here you go. It's a sweet little glass of spicy ambrosia that tastes like bananas. So, fantastic beer for New Belgium. This is a beer that I would recommend to people if they just, again, for all the reasons I just stated. In terms of what I would pair it with food, Belgians are always in a weird place because the inherent kind of sweetness to them can make them a bit tricky. I think when you're pairing them with some, like, to me, big, savory, rich dishes. Like, I don't see myself like going to eat like a chicken pot pie or like a beef bourguignon or something with this. This is much more to me like something I would want to have like with a charcuterie board, like a variety of cheeses, maybe a different types of meats. And because the flavor is complex, I feel like you could play around with a lot of different types of hard and soft cheeses and meats. So yeah, this is much more of a kind of a brunch / snack type beer for me. And I profess my own ignorance. I mean, down in the comments below, if you're in the culinary field and you have a particular dish that you would recommend, please enlighten me. I would love to know because I've always had trouble pairing Belgian Golden Ales with like main course dishes. So, but that's going to do it for me on this episode, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. And again, big shout out and thank you to Miss Linda Exum. Great choice. I have enjoyed this very much, and hopefully this enlightened you and others to maybe give this a second look when you're at a grocery store and pick this up yourself. So again, if y'all liked the video, please leave me a thumbs up. If you did not like the video, leave me a thumbs down. I'd like your feedback in the comments below. Have you had this beer? Do you have any questions about golden beers? Do you have any questions about New Belgium, the brewing company? Love to share them and get a conversation started. Well, that's what the comment section's for. So that will be it for this episode, everyone. And always remember to keep your mind sharp, your heart clear, and your upper lip bitter. We'll see you next time.